Paul here again. Great to be back with you for our daily devotions. We're in Philippians chapter 2, verses 25 to 27. Let me read this. Paul says, "But I think it is necessary to send back to you Epaphroditus." Try saying that fast. "My brother, my co-worker, my fellow soldier, who's also your messenger, whom you sent to take care of my needs. For he longs for all of you and is distressed because you heard he was ill." Well, indeed, he was ill. In fact, he almost died. But God had mercy on him, and not only him, but also on me, to spare me sorrow upon sorrow. Well, Epaphroditus was honestly most likely a Gentile born to pagan parents. Check this out. See, his name kind of came from the mythical goddess Aphrodite. I love this because it shows that God is not a discriminator of who he uses to extend his kingdom. You know, maybe you think that God would never use you because you have a pagan background. You didn't grow up in the church or Christian family. But God loves to take people and restore their lives. But Epaphroditus here, he becomes a Gentile, becomes a Christian, and he had left Philippi with this offering from the Philippian church to go support the Apostle Paul. And Paul is now sending him back to the Philippian church with a word from the Apostle Paul. You know, apart from these few verses, very little is known about Epaphroditus. He was just a layman in the church of Philippi. You know, he was a messenger boy for the gospel, a servant of the Lord. No task seemed too menial for him. He would deliver money for the Apostle Paul, or he'd come back and deliver a letter. And Paul says that his friend had taken ill in verse 27, but the Lord spared him for the sake of the gospel and even for the sake of Paul, so that Paul didn't have sorrow upon sorrow. Remember, he's still in prison writing this letter. The church at Philippi anointed Epaphroditus, I can't say that name, as a sent one, to take money to Paul. Most likely he would have gone, honestly, this trip that Epaphroditus would have taken was probably about 729 miles. It would have taken him almost 2 months to just walk there. And I'm sure possibly even on this trip, that's when he got sick. And that's when the church heard that their beloved co-worker, their beloved church attender in Philippi was ill and almost died. But I want you to look at these words that the Apostle Paul describes Epaphroditus. Just look at these. Paul says he's my brother, one. Literally means from the same womb. In that culture, there was not much brotherly love. And the church provided a place to feel connected and encouraged. And they both shared this same passion for the gospel. So Epaphroditus and the Apostle Paul, there was this brotherly love there. Paul says he's my fellow worker. They had an effective partnership in ministering to the church in Philippi and beyond. He was a fellow soldier. You know, Paul never called us to this life of ease, but there is a battle waging. And Epaphroditus was a fellow soldier with Paul for the gospel. And he calls him a messenger, another word, a messenger. He was designated by the church to be this messenger, to deliver tithes and offerings to the Apostle Paul to encourage him. And then lastly, he was called a minister. He took care of the needs that were needed with the Apostle Paul, specifically the financial needs there. Wouldn't those be great words on our tombstone? What if at the end of your life, people gathered around and said, this is my brother or sister, my fellow worker in the gospel, my soldier that comes alongside me and fights the battles. They're my messenger and they're my minister. So let me ask you this, what kind of friend are you today? Who in your oikos needs encouragement that you could just send a text to, that you could say a prayer for, that you could send a gift to, that you could come alongside in their battles and say, we stand with you and we will fight on your behalf. Well, we love you guys. Hope this encourages you. Have a great day.